Good morning, guys. It's the 3rd of August, 2021. We just can't seem to get a string of nice sunny days. I did look at a weather forecast that said it's going to be pretty rainy and gloomy through August. And it's even going to be more gloomy with all these lockdowns that the people are having to suffer here. It's just I saw a thing on there said, look, we did these lockdowns and all this, and now they're just going to double down on it and make it even worse. I'm looking at the poor folks over in Australia. I mean, they're getting boned. A lot of different countries are doing stuff. That Trudeau guy, was watching some of his baloney, his malarkey he's pulling, and it's just a royal shame. Take a look at what he's doing. He's already ordering vaxes all the way up to 2025, boosters and all this stuff. It's a moneymaker, guys. It's and then I look at my own government. They're talking about these trillions of dollars they're going to spend. They knock some crumbs off the table to the people, and then they get, and these politicians are just going to keep voting for this. They're going to break the bank is what they're trying to do. And their goal is not the goal of the people. It's the way governments always work, though. Governments, they get their own goals, and they just say, screw the people. It's happened throughout history, and it's a real shame. But it's what's happening, and this time it's happening worldwide, guys. This is something totally different than what has ever happened before. I mean, all these places are falling for it. I'm just not getting that, and they just keep pounding more news. But something else I want to talk about that was it's strange. It might be my phone. I'm not sure if it's my phone or not. But when I changed this camera over to 1080p 60 frames per second, so that's like 2.5 times more information has to go into there. So when I was doing my the stuff that I have to do on the phone, it's way longer. It takes quite a bit longer. And with this stupid phone, it doesn't have an unlimited off time. It's the maximum is 10 minutes. So, morning. So under 10 minutes every time I either got to swipe the screen. I got to swipe the screen to let it know I'm still there. Otherwise, it just shuts off and I lose all the information. It just goes back to zero and I got to start over again, which is stupid. The other Samsung phone I had, it had, screen's going to shut off at this time, that time. And my screen, if it did shut off, it still kept busy and doing what it was doing. Not this one. You lose everything. It just goes to zero. And the other one also had an unlimited don't turn off screen. Let it go run to failure, you might say. So I don't know. Well, what's happening with the phone now? The upload to YouTube is like lightning fast. The video I did 2 of them. They uploaded to YouTube in just a matter of a couple minutes. So that was really great. I was happy about that. But if I have the data off on the phone and I have the Wi-Fi on, it won't load to YouTube. It just does that little stupid spinning hourglass thing, and I got nothing. It'll do that forever. So the only way I can make it work is I shut the Wi-Fi off and put the data on. Got it started with the data. Once it was loading, then I switched back over to Wi-Fi and it loaded. Now, why does this kind of technology have to do weird, like a maze? I have no idea, but that's the workaround I had. It's the only thing I could do. Them fellows were out here yesterday cutting grass all day, so it really smells like it too. But that's the way it works. But the nice thing is, Faye's in. She's watching her Olympics, which is kind of cool. I was watching the Olympics too, though, and they had these girls up there doing archery, and these are supposed to be like the best lady archers in the world, indoor archers. Man, I was really shocked. I was really shocked how big their groups were, and half of them couldn't even hit the yellow thing on the bullseye. And that just, I was like, dang, if this is the best the world has to offer, we're in trouble. You know, it just got me. It just really got me. I think all the girls who are really good at it are out hunting deer with their bow and arrow. They're not playing around with this nonsense, because they were horrible. I didn't think they were doing good. I watched one girl put her arrow in backwards. I even showed it to my wife. She's like, "What? My wife isn't a bow and arrow shooter." The girl put her arrow in backwards. When you have your riser here, you put your arrow in, and there's 3 vanes on it, and they go, you know, this way, this way, this way. Well, when you put it in, if you put it in this way, it hits the riser and makes the arrow go goofy. So what you have to do is put the single vane going this way, and then the 2 here. It gives you more room for the riser. And it hit it. It hit it. I actually went back to the video and slowed it down. We can do all kinds of cool stuff on this TV, and you could see that the plastic vane wrinkled a little bit. Now, they didn't show the arrow in flight to see if it was wobbling or anything. I don't know, but she just got in the red. She never even hit the yellow. So I was thinking, well, who trained that girl? You know, I don't know. It just seemed kind of odd to me. And they had all this fancy bows with all these big weights. I mean, this thing was so big, and they were so big and funny looking, and they had all this fancy stuff, and they still couldn't shoot. So that was very very eye-opening to me. You know, I shot bow and arrow. My biggest problem shooting bow and arrow, I didn't like to target shoot. I used to pick different targets out, because if I shot at the same spot, I'd start knocking the nocks off the back of my arrow. You know, I bow hunted for years. I loved the bow hunt, and I have to say, every single deer I shot with a bow, I killed him. I got him. You know, none of this stuff. I had guys where they stick a dang deer. I got a deer one time. I helped my buddy track it, and the dang thing had an arrow. It had one eye, and it was completely covered over. And he said, you know, I don't even want it. You can have it, but help me track it. So we went out to his place, and he just hit the very back of the lung. So it ran from where he shot it a good 400 yards. And we got it. We found it in the thicket way after dark. Well, when I got it home, I was skinning it out. I gutted it right there, skinned it out at home, and inside of its head was a completely encapsulated in like this yellow stuff, took its eye out, was a broadhead where it got hit right in the head. So, you know, and it was coming down, so it was a guy up in a tree stand. So me, I never liked to bow hunt out of a tree stand. I have climbed trees. One time my buddy and I were up in this huge oak tree, and he was up facing one way and I was facing the other, and we were watching these trails. And we just got a serious case of the giggles, so we couldn't hunt. But I always wound up liking to ground blind. One little trick I learned. All these guys are worried about soap and all this stuff. I just let my clothes get by a coal furnace, you know, where it gets some coal smell on it. Deers are not afraid of that. At nighttime, when it gets late, they'll come right up in the yard when there's people are heating their house with coal and a little smoke. They're not scary of that. I knew some old timers used to start a big bonfire in the woods with a tire ring or something they brought in, and they'd keep a fire going. Deers would come right up to the fire, and they'd get their deer that way. So that was always kind of cool. But I used to have a real nice shovel. It was a Soviet Spetsnaz shovel that I had bought, and real easy to carry, light. And I would just dig out a little ground blind, go on the side of a bank, dig me out a little area where I could get my bow in, and then you got that fresh dirt sucking up your smell. And I've had deer walk right up to me. The one I got, the real nice one I got the one year, he come up, and I had just got there. Just finished digging my hole, and he come walking up, looking, and had bobbing his head, and wow, what's going on there? And I didn't have my arrow in, so I real quietly pulled the arrow out of the quiver, and then I went ahead and when I was putting it in, I whacked it up against the magnesium riser. That was that PSE bow I had, and aluminum arrow before I switched to graphite. And then of course he took off. The way he came, he just bolted down the hill, and I thought, oh well, it's the first day of the season, it's the first hour of the season, no big loss, you know, it might be a bigger one than him. So I got my arrow in the nock, and I'm sitting in my ground blind. The only thing, I'm in the May apples, they call them. You know, they're only so high off the ground, and I'm looking up through them. It was green still, no snow or nothing like that. Yeah, they cut this too, by the way. You know, they're working, these guys. So a little while later, I see him way back, way down the hill, down the gas road, and he's starting to come back, and he's looking. I guess the sound of hitting the riser might have thought it was, you know, there was a fight or something, and he came up, and I pulled back when he was about maybe 40 yards. I wouldn't shoot much farther than that. I can hit pretty accurate, but I'd never wanted to wound one. I always stayed, I liked it in close. Well, I pulled back around that time, and you know, that bow was like a 90-pound bow, even though they got let off and all this stuff. I pulled that thing back, and I'm holding it, and he just kept coming. He kept coming, and I thought, I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to shoot at even 20. Even though I know I can hit a heart-sized target at 20, I just kept waiting, and I got him. He was about 8 yards when I got him, and it was so cool because as soon as he got right up to that spot, there was a car going by the road. I was only a good 50 yards off the road, and the road was up above us. And when the car went by, he turned broadside to look that way. Presented me the most beautiful shot. And I popped him. I hit him. I just chopped him right through the heart, behind the shoulder, and I got that son of a gun. He bolted up over the hill. Didn't know he was dead, but it was really cool. I went with a lot of guys like to go with the super lightweight arrows and all that stuff. I went with the heaviest broadhead that I could get. Not one that's a blade front. It actually had a screw in, like a breaker one, and then I used serrated blades. The heaviest I could get, plus I used the heaviest arrow I could get. You know, I didn't want to stick. You know, a lot of guys I seen, they stick them. My one buddy shot with the bow and arrow, and he said the deer reached around, grabbed the arrow, and pulled it out, and he never did get it. You know, he hit it right in the shoulder, and it wasn't enough to really penetrate anything, and that deer probably lived. But every time I shot one with the bow I had, with the heavy arrows, I always went same with my rifle. I like the big, slow, heavy bullets. This, you know, it just blew straight through them. And then instead of having one bud trail, you got two. You got one on either side, because they're, you know, especially you hit them in the lungs, they're gonna. You don't even have to look down at the ground because it's on the trees, and they don't usually go far, not far at all before they drop down. But another thing I was always in big favor of was the you know, big, heavy, slow bullets. They seem to work better. I hunted quite a bit with a rifle, and then when I got older, I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get a 7 mag, and go with the super speed and the lightweight bullets. And I just had you know, problems where the tracking was like tracking forever to try to get them, because they would just take off and run. Bullet failures, all kinds of things like that. A lot of guys have good luck with them, don't get me wrong. But what happened to me was I just went right back. My gun of choice, I had a .358 Norma Magnum. I used to use the Spear 250 grain bullet, and I'd have that loaded at around 2,500 feet per second. I didn't have it kicked way up to 2,900 feet per second. I had it right at around 24, 25, and I was weighing all my charges, and just all my cases were done just right, so I could get it right in within 20 feet per second of my target point. And then you hit them, you hear it hit them, and guess what? Every single deer I ever shot with that, they just went straight down, bang, straight down. And I've had failures with other ones. I had another time I was out at my buddy's house, and he was going to let me use his rifle. I said, no, I got one. I had just got it was a SMSE British rifle, and you know, military that a fella converted to .308, and I took it out, no scope or anything like that. I took it out and shot it at 50 and 100 yards, and this thing was just dead on the money. It was shooting really good. I was shooting palm-sized groups with it at 100 yards, so I was good to go. I was happy. It had a really nice aperture peep in the back and a hooded post on the front. And it actually had adjustments on there. The guy who did the gunsmithing work did a pretty cool job with the sighting, and the new, had a new barrel, didn't have a stock barrel, and it shot good. The action was all slicked up. So I'm sitting in a tree stand, and right along the fence come this huge buck. I'm looking at this nice 10-point buck, and I had a rest. I was resting, and I aimed right at this thing's shoulder and pulled the trigger, and nothing. I never saw the bullet hit the ground. I never saw it hit the deer, and he just stood there. So I chucked another one in there, aimed right at. I thought I'm going to aim for center of the deer, and he was standing kind of quartering to me, and I went ahead and I aimed dead at him. I wasn't shaking. I'm going to just shoot this thing now. Bang! I did it again. I shot him again. Guess what? I never saw the bullet hit the ground. No impact. Anything. I never saw the deer flinch. He looked around. He's wondering where this shot's coming from. He's not budging. I put a third one in, and guess what? I fired that third one off, and this time I'm taking my real time. He's not moving. He's not going anywhere. He's looking around. He's thinking, oh crap, where am I going to go? He wants to make sure he doesn't get shot, because my buddy was down the hill, and I had another buddy was up the other side, and some people were coming from his way, the way the deer came. So I laid this thing down. I looked at the rifle even. I was looking at it. Did I bang this? Did I bang the sight? Everything looked perfect. And I went ahead and shot at him again. Tried just going for center mass. Nothing. And then finally he walked away. And I'm like, my buddy come over later. And I don't know what the hell happened. I wasn't all freaked out or anything. And I went ahead and when I got home the next morning, I went out. And I ran down the range real quick, same ammunition, stuff I had loaded, and I put the ammunition in the gun, and I fired 3 shots at 100 yards and put it in a palm-sized group. So that was the strangest hunt I ever had. I usually, when I shot at them, I got them. There were a lot of years I didn't see too many, a lot of doe, because I had the gun shop going, so I couldn't really hunt in those days. I had to, I was so many times in the Midwest in the wintertime. A lot of these guys that hunt, and this was guns. The first 3-4 days of deer season, gun season. Oh, I made a fortune. Those were such huge days, because what would happen is the guys would they'd get their gun that they slathered up with oil. They oiled it all up so they wouldn't rust, and they threw it in a closet somewhere. And some of them put, all the stuff they would put on their guns to keep them from rusting. And they'd spray them with sprays and all this stuff. Well, they would take that gun out of their closet in a warm car, go to the shooting range. They'd fire some shots. Okay, she's good. She's on target. She's good. Then they take it back home, put it from their warm car into their nice warm house, and then what would happen is on the gun season, I was never one for getting up too early to go out hunting, but some of these guys get up pretty early and they trudge into the woods when it's cold, and then they sit there, and you can't shoot until a certain time. Sometimes 7 o'clock, something like that. There's a time limit you can shoot, and you got to be able to see good. That's what they're looking for. And then what happens? They see a nice buck on the first day, and what happens? Click, because that oil had gelled up. It had got cold. So man, they're hightailing it to the shop. They're hightailing it to the gun shop, and all I do is take the bolt apart, clean it all out. I had a nice tool for taking bolts apart. I'd clean it all out, get the gook out of it, and give it back to them. Quit spraying oil in it. And at $35, and you wouldn't believe how many of those I had that I was doing. It just was ridiculous. They'd be waiting in line for me to get it done, and basically just had to wipe it off. Just clean the oil off and put it all back together. And so that's why a lot of ones disappear. But the one I shot at, I to this day I still can't understand. Never happened before that or since then. Always when I shot at them, I had that I had had a Seiko Action. I put that 358 Norma Magnum into it. I had a Shiloh Select Match barrel. I bought a 2-inch one, and then I went ahead and I cut it down to a super light barrel, except for 2 rings that I machined the bottom off, and that was my scope mounts. I had clamp-on scope mounts, so I could easily put them off. I had a really good peep sight through the mount that went up for the scope. Everything was mounted as low as possible, and I could still use the peep for that. And I had it on a really light, super lightweight stock. Made the stock out of laminated balsa wood, and then painted it over with crinkle paint. And the whole gun, with no bullets in anything. I had a nylon slings just to make it super lightweight. I had aluminum bedding on it, so it was real solid. But I had scout rifle design. I had the scope. I had a handgun scope on it, long eye relief scope, forward. So when I threw it up, I had a little TV picture, the same size as everything else, could keep my eyes open. And that son of a gun, when it hit, and it was a very accurate little gun too. It was just super nice for shooting. When that thing would hit a deer, the Kugelschlag was really something. It was. He knew he was hit. I knew he was hit, and then just get the gun up, sling the gun up, and go get him. That's all there was to it. But I did hit one time. Was running away. You know how they run with their tails up, and he was running away, and he stopped. He stopped about 100 yards. I'd say it was 100 yards. He stopped and was looking over his head, and I was aiming for his neck. And what did I do? I hit him in the spine, like right at the tail, and the dang thing went completely through. And then it came out his neck, and I'm not kidding you. You talk about the pork chops from the deer. Every single one of them was completely ruined. That bullet never stopped. It went from stem to stern on him, and ruined a ton of meat. Even the neck had the hole coming out. You could almost put your fist in. You could easily get 3 fingers in the hole coming out. I mean, that Spear 250 grain bullet, when that thing starts to open up, it opens. It's a nasty one. I actually when I was test firing in my shop, when you build a rifle, you got to fire two shots, proof loads. And when I did mine, I fired that Spear 250, and I had a bucket of water, a 55-gallon drum of water with sand in the bottom, and I just had a little porthole in there with foam around it so you wouldn't scratch the gun or anything, and I'd fire my 2 proof rounds into there. And boy, the most beautiful little mushrooms you ever saw. Those Spear bullets are something. So, but that's my little chat for the day. I hope that this lockdown will end. But I'm betting, it's got a set time limit, and just like last year, I'm betting they're going to increase it again. They're just going to say, well, we got some more of these cases, and they come in and say that, hey, we know this test is faulty. It's no good. I just talked to a friend of ours yesterday that she volunteered to go get tested. Right? Why, I don't know. But guess what? It came back a couple days later that she was positive. Now they wanted to know everybody she ever talked to. She's quarantined in her home, and she's fine. She said, I feel fine. I don't feel sick at all. But of course, if you listen to this Fucci, he says they got a new strain. You can get it. You don't know you got it, and there's no test that he can even find it. Guys, if this ain't totalitarianism, I don't know what is. This is crazy. This is just crazy. And you gotta look to things too. I keep hearing this thing about that Fucci dude that he's the highest paid in the U.S. government. I don't care where you go or what you do, the people who make the most money are in charge. Okay? End of story. You go any corporation, the head of the corporation, he's making more money than anybody else. Okay? That's just the way it works. Except Trump didn't. He wouldn't even take his money. But so this guy's in charge. They can't do anything with him. They're having these hearings on him now. They're finding he's a big bunch of baloney and all this stuff, but he's protected on high from somebody. I'm surprised, that he's still there, hasn't been fired or anything. But if you're the highest up the food chain, who can fire you? You know, I would say the people, but I don't get, you know, I'm not getting all this stuff that's going on. It's getting clearer and clearer every day, and the people that are for all this stuff are getting more rabid to say you got to do it, and they're starting to say you got to do it too, because now that I got the shot, you got to get it too. Well, guys, you're next. You don't seem to get it. You're next, and too much information. I'm seeing a lot of information. You guys ought to get on the Telegram and look on there. I had put I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's some people got together and they got their they just put up a site where if you got anything with the vax, any problems with it, you can put your little story in there. And I mean, this morning I think there were like 50 of them in there, and a lot of these people are, you know, they're having troubles. They're having serious medical issues. Now, I did see one thing that looks pretty straight up from one of these university where they train doctors and virologists and all this stuff. I forget the name of the thing, but it was prestigious university, and they said right now it's adverse reactions are 1 in 1,000. That was one thing I saw, and it stuck in my head. Okay, I ain't taking that chance, guys. I ain't taking a chance on 1 in 1,000. You can forget it. If somebody handed you a gun and it had 1,000 chambers in this huge revolver, and they put one bullet in it, would you put it to your head and pull the trigger? For nothing. I mean, not for any kind of anything. Just do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do that. The other thing is with these, the FLU in the years past, never got it. I had different times. I was in doctor's office. You know, they were the original. They were pushers. I would say a lot of doctors were pushers because they say, "Oh, come on, take it. You know, come on, you gotta get it. Come on, you'll be okay. Come on, here, take it." They were the pushers because I think they're getting money on it. You know, pushers don't push their drugs unless they get money. And that's how that was, and I just never got them. I'm just not, no. I don't see a need for it. It's just like I saw in the one thing on the Facebook. There's this super minuscule chance you got cancer, but are they just going to give everybody chemo just to be sure? Come on. And then chemo, at least they know results from that, studies from it from, you know, forever. This new thing, guys, it is a experimental. If you know, these people say, no, it's not, it's been tested, blah, blah, blah. No, it hasn't. You guys that are saying that, I don't even want to reply anymore. I'm just not even going to reply because you haven't done your homework. You haven't looked into this. They come right out and say it. You know, they're not hiding the fact that it's experimental. And then when you're messing with gene therapy, where something's going to start going inside your cells, and they don't want to tell you what's in it. It's proprietary. We can't tell you what's in it. Baloney. They want to put something in my body. I want to know what the heck it is, guys. I am not an anti-jabber. I'm not anti. If you know, if that's what you want, knock yourself out. You know, just knock yourself out. That's good. Get 2. Hey, you can have mine. That's it. That's fine. The jury's out for me, guys. I'm sorry, but it's just out for me. There's just too much stuff, information that's coming now, you know. And then I look at these, the news media saying, you get these people on there saying, oh yeah, we're going to make it so you can't work or all that. A company can do that to you. They can say, if you don't get it, you can't work for us no more. I would leave. I'd leave the company. Sorry, it's going to suck. It's going to suck for my family and me. But I would find something else to do. You know, maybe start your own company. With whatever you do, do the best you can. Age of the internet, do something. But I would go. I would say I would have to go. So, and it's a shame. But here's the deal. You want one? Get it. I say you should get it. Now my mother-in-law, they are coercing her into getting hers, and they said that if she don't get it, they're going to cut off her benefits. Well, she got there. Well, all of a sudden there's none. They're unavailable. And then, of course, her family's been talking to her. Faye, even Coco out here, they're talking to her, and now she's changed her mind. We let her see some information, and now she's thinking that, okay, she's going to let it go. And I said, she got nothing to worry about. You know, we're gonna. That's my mother-in-law. You know, my parents are gone, grandparents are gone, all these people are gone, but we still got mom, and we're gonna do the best to take care of her. We're not, you know, we don't want her being sick or anything. If something happens, we're gonna do the best we can to take care of her. Just it's how it is. But you know, we just presented her with information. You know, she's watching the news and what's on there and all that stuff. But I think the one that got her was when we said, okay, so there's a minuscule chance that you got cancer, but you're going to go take chemo, right? No, of course not. Doctor wouldn't even do that. If he ran a test and he just thinks possibly you have it, he's not going to give you chemo. You don't just go in the hospital and get chemo for nothing. You know, so that's where we're at with that. You know, so it looks like she's changed her mind. I hope they don't screw her on her little benefits, but it's a pittance. It's a real minuscule amount, I'm sure. The Social Security here and the help that you get in this country is super low. And it's just like when they locked people down in the first place, there was a big thing that's saying all the Filipino citizens are to get $8,000. And I did videos. You go back to that thing, and they showed how money gets handed down, and when it gets to the people, they get 2 cans of sardines. And we got stuff too. You know, they sent it to us. We give it away. You know, I didn't even want it. I said, Faye, we don't need it. We tried to refuse it, and they said no. They just stuck it on the chair. It was one of these deals where they came around, you had to put a chair out. I didn't put one out, but my wife put one out. And they set the stuff on the chair because they didn't want to get close to you. You know? How you going to get herd immunity unless the herd gets together? It's called herd immunity because you're all herded together. You stay apart, it's going to just make it go longer. I think that's what they want. They want it to go longer so they can keep their power and control over people. And people are listening. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a big group of people that are scared to death of this. And I say, if you want to get rid of your fear, turn your damn TV off. There was just a big study done that I looked at, and it said that you know, when you're in fear, that just breaks your immune system down. You know, that's no good. You got to get out in the sunshine, run around and play. Had the kids out yesterday, running around and playing. You know, I want to keep them so that they're healthy, getting into sunshine. Somebody asked me a while back if I use sunscreen and all this. No, I don't. I don't burn. My kids don't burn. I remember working up in the high desert and in the sun all day with no shirt on, a pair of shorts, just a pair of boots. I don't burn. I'll stay in the sun. And now, if you burn, it's a different story. Be careful how much sun you get, but you still need sun, guys. You got to get sun. That's a gift from the good Lord above, and you need it. It's your vitamin D. And there's a trick to vitamin D. And this is why so many people are deficient in it, because when you get that sun, it gets into the oil of your skin. It takes 24, 48 hours to absorb into your largest organ of your body, your skin. So if you go wash it off with soap, you've lost that. You've lost that vitamin D. So, you know, whenever I get a really good sun day, I just wash my pits, my crotch, my hands, and my feet, my face, and I leave the rest on there. Just let water rinse over it. And that'll, you know, at least that way you're getting your vitamin D. The last time I had a vitamin D test was many years ago, and it was good. The guy said, wow, you know, I've done a lot of these tests on here, and you're the only one that was within normal. Good morning. Everybody else had to have supplements. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He says, you're the only one. So you got to you can't wash it off, guys. So I'm just about back home. We're coming by the boys. They're gonna get the concrete forms ready. This is how they do it. And yeah, they're getting ready to do it. It's a nice job. Nice little house. These are houses that are just like ours. And that's how they do them. So we're home, and this one's a different model over there. That's a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and back to the house, and this is Rickshaw out.